Amanda, I've got a trivia question for you. Who was the last person to rule Imperial China before it became a republic?
Oh, that's an easy one. It was Empress Dowager Cixi. But here's the twist. She wasn't technically the emperor. She was the power behind the throne for nearly 50 years.
Wait, so she was like the ultimate puppet master, pulling all the strings without anyone realizing it?
Exactly. She was the queen of political chess, always 10 moves ahead of everyone else. And trust me, her story is full of twists, turns, and a whole lot of drama.
All right, you got me hooked. Let's dive into the life of the woman who ruled an empire from the shadows. So, how did Cixi go from being a concubine to the most powerful person in China? That's quite the leap.
It all started when she became a concubine of Emperor Xianfeng. She gave birth to his only son, Tongji, which instantly made her one of the most important women in the palace.
Okay, but how did she go from important to running the show?
When Xianfeng died, Tongji became emperor, but he was only 5 years old. So, Cixi became his regent, effectively ruling in his name. And when Tongji died young, she did it again with her nephew, Guangxu.
So she was like, oh, you need a ruler? Don't worry, I've got this.
Pretty much. She was a master of political maneuvering. She knew how to play factions against each other and always came out on top.
What was her reign like? Was she a good ruler? Or was it all about maintaining her power?
It's complicated. On one hand, she kept the empire together during a time of massive internal and external pressures. On the other hand, she was incredibly conservative and resistant to reform, which many blame for China's decline.
So she was like a double-edged sword, keeping things stable but also holding China back?
Exactly. For example, when Emperor Guangxu tried to modernize China with the 100 Days Reform, Cixi shut it down and placed him under house arrest.
Wait, she put the emperor under house arrest? That's bold.
Oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg. She was ruthless when it came to protecting her power.
What about her relationship with foreign powers? I've heard that was a big issue during her reign.
Oh, absolutely. Cixi's reign coincided with the height of Western imperialism in China. She had to deal with everything from the Opium Wars to the Boxer Rebellion.
The Boxer Rebellion? That sounds intense. What happened?
The Boxers were a nationalist movement that opposed foreign influence in China. At first, Cixi supported them, but when the rebellion failed, she had to flee Beijing as foreign troops occupied the city.
Yikes. So she was caught between a rock and a hard place?
Exactly. Her inability to effectively handle foreign pressure is one of the reasons her reign is often criticized.
Okay, let's lighten things up a bit. What was Cixi like as a person? Did she have any hobbies or interests?
Oh, she was quite the character. She loved art, theater, and luxury. She had a passion for Peking opera and even performed in plays herself.
Wait, she performed in plays? That's unexpected.
Yes, she was a patron of the arts and even commissioned a famous portrait of herself as the Buddhist goddess Guanyin.
So she was a mix of politician, artist, and diva?
Pretty much. But her extravagant spending also drew criticism, especially during a time when many Chinese people were struggling.
I've heard that Cixi is one of the most controversial figures in Chinese history. Why is that?
Well, her critics argue that her conservative policies and resistance to reform contributed to China's decline and eventual collapse. They also point to her ruthless tactics, like the execution of political rivals and the suppression of reform movements.
So she's seen as both a savior and a villain?
Exactly. Her supporters say she kept the empire together during a turbulent time, but her critics argue that her actions ultimately weakened China.
So, Empress Dowager Cixi wasn't just a ruler. She was a complex figure who shaped the final decades of imperial China. Her story is a reminder that power is never black and white. It's messy, complicated, and often controversial.
And let's not forget, she's proof that women have always been at the forefront of political and cultural change, even in the most challenging circumstances.
Next time, we're diving into the life of another incredible woman, Mulan, the legendary warrior who inspired countless stories and films. But was she real? And what's the truth behind the legend? Trust me, you don't want to miss it.
A legendary warrior? I'm already hooked. See you next time.